Okay, back. Anyway, so ad hominem is where we are attacking the person rather than the issue. And oftentimes you will see this. It's always a social media thing. You'll even see it in comments. And people will attack whoever the commentary is about as a person. And they'll say things like, oh, they're fat, they're ugly, or, I hate their face, or, something about the person. Oh, they're a rapist, or they're a bleeding heart liberal, or whatever the thing is. They do that rather than actually point to the thing that they need, the issue at hand. Okay, so the issue isn't the person. It is not about how they look. It's not about how they're married or not married, or gay or straight, or any of that stuff. The ad hominem is attacking something about the person rather than actually focusing on the issue. So whenever you see commentary, and the commentary in any social media is an attack on the person, that's because they don't actually have an attack on the issue. They don't have any backup to explain why they either are against the issue or have a good, solid fight against the issue. So think about that. Anytime you see an ad hominem, scroll on past. That person has nothing good to say. They have nothing to contribute except ad hominem, attacking the person type of comments. Okay, too cool quay, too cool quay. It's also two wrongs make a right. Oftentimes it'll be like back at you. An example would be, don't tell me I need to lose weight. You need to stop smoking, right? It's like, well, don't tell me what to do. What about you? Okay. There's a couple examples in the memes. One of them's like, this lady's yelling at a cat, get off the table. You're not my mom, right? That's a too cool quay. It's a back to you. I know you are, but what am I? I know I am, but what are you? How's that one go? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. All right. Oftentimes this is used, to quote quays, to excuse bad behavior. Okay, fine, I need to lose weight, but what about you? Right? It's that turning back around to the other person by avoiding the thing you should probably work on. Not weight, but like whatever, like say I'm a dick and I'm like, well, you're a dick too. It's like, well, you should probably figure out your own things first before you start pointing fingers. Okay. Like you're driving and 8 other people are flying past, but you get pulled over and you're like, oh, well, how come I'm getting a ticket? Those guys were speeding too. Well, you were still speeding, right? Or they did it first, why am I getting in trouble, is kind of the example. The example of look who's talking, like, why should I listen to you? Like, who are you? Right? That's a back at you thing. Or to your parents, you did it when I was your age. They're like, yeah, and I learned the hard way, and I'm trying to help you. All right, that's a tu quo que. Let's see here. It's kind of like the being late. Well, they're late all the time. It's like, yeah, but still, so are you, right? That's the thing. Like, what other people are doing isn't the point. It's still what you're doing is still at fault, right? So remember when we talked about before the consequences tests and things like that, still got to look at your own actions, okay? All right, we can look at the consensus bandwagon, ad populum. That's the one we're going to go with. This one is pretty much everybody's doing it. Kind of that's the example. The speed limit at Paradise actually has changed since I've written this, but it should be at 45 because everybody goes that fast anyway. Well, if everyone's doing it, might as well change it. You could say that about certain laws, or the president's cheating, why can't I, right? Like, everyone's doing it. So that is appealing to the ad populum. Appeal to tradition. This happens a lot where we will do it because that's how we've always done it. We're appealing to either traditional ideas or certain practices, even if they are outdated. We could go back to one of my lectures we talked about in chapter 4, leeches. Well, we've always used leeches. Why would we change? Well, it's like, just because traditionally you use leeches doesn't mean it's helping anybody, and it's probably not good for you. So appealing to traditions and certain ideas and practices is usually a very fallacious way of arguing. This is very tough because I do recognize that this falls under the umbrella of whether it's like family traditions or religious traditions. So I am mindful of that. But again, even sometimes some of those traditions might not be healthy for a community or a family or whatever the case may be. So just keep that in mind. You are free to change your traditions, change your ideas, and change your beliefs, all right? You don't have to be beholden to that forever. if that helps you give some freedom to yourselves, and it's also fallacious, right? Anyway, not to undermine traditions of family or religion. That's not the point here. It is things like, oh, let's vote for Smith. We've always voted for Smith family, you know? So it's like, well, just because we always voted for the Smith family probably doesn't mean we should keep voting for the Smith family. Because while, Senior Smith was, did all these great things, Junior Smith probably, I can see he's going in a direction that might not be healthy for our community. Okay, so think about that. All the men in our family were lawyers. You should be a lawyer too. Well, that's appeal to tradition. It's to appeal to certain practices within the family. Might not work out for you. Or we could talk about the work schedule that we've always worked a 9 to 5, and why do we need to change that? Well, maybe the 9 to 5 isn't working anymore. Maybe it has caused a lot of problems with people and they've got kids or whatever. Maybe changing that up would actually be more beneficial to people. So appealing to certain traditions and ideas and practices, as a way of being, that is a fallacious way of arguing, because there might be new and better ways. As a critical thinker, we don't know. Let's open it up. Let's try new things, because just because we always did it this way doesn't mean it still works. Okay. Appeal to pity. Appeal to pity is where in which we prey on someone's sympathy. An example would be like, I'm a good guy, you should go out with me. Or I'm a good girl, you should go out with me. That's appealing to pity, if you don't go up with me, I'm going to be really upset. That's an appeal to pity, right? Your sympathy towards how I feel versus how you feel. I know you're on a diet, but I slaved all day on this food. You should eat it. That's its own therapy thing. When I read that one, I'm like, that's really... It's a little aggressive there. I don't really like talking about diets and food and stuff. I feel like that's a sensitive subject for many people. So I apologize if these are things that are upsetting as I put them on there. I recognize that as I have these conversations. You may have a lot to do, but it won't be any fun for me if you don't come to my party. So again, that appeal to sympathy, not recognizing that someone has deadlines, or that sort of thing. Same thing with the one above. It's like, I know you're on a diet, but I slaved all day. Well, maybe it's not so much a diet as it is a way of being that they're trying to accomplish, and you're interrupting something that's already hard enough, right? Or the same thing of oh, I'm going to be upset if you don't go out with me. Well, that's really not fair to the person who's trying to be true to themselves on what they choose to do when it comes to dating people. It's not healthy to date someone just because you feel like it'll hurt their feelings if you don't. Okay, so that's appeal to pity. There's many other different ways you could apply that. So, all right, equivocation. It's when you switch a key term, the meaning of a key term, in order to help your argument. So an example would be, in the realm of human experience, we find ourselves presented with difficult choices. And then it is very human experience to make the mistake that my client did. Let me reiterate. Let me rephrase that. I'm not re-recording it, it's too long. All right. So it is understandable that human beings are faced with very difficult decisions. So it makes sense that my client would do this because of said difficult decisions, right? So it's kind of changing these words around to try and validate, a reason why someone might do something. This hurts me a lot more than it hurts you is an example. Using the word hurt in two different meanings, like it hurts me emotionally, even though it hurts your booty butt every time I spank it, right? If you spank kids, I don't know if people do that anymore. Anyway, so it hurts me more than it hurts you. I feel like that's a 90s thing. I feel like that's from my era. And you're against murder, so you must be against capital punishment, recognizing that they're manipulating capital punishment into turning it, which is the death of a prisoner, with the assumption that it's the same as being a murderer, right? So it's manipulating those terms. So, all right. So I don't know what the fuss is about organic foods. Everything I eat comes from the earth. So what's the difference, right? Understanding what organic items, organisms coming from the ground, organic versus the actual practices in which you make food. Okay, you get it. All right, so please go ahead and take a look at all those examples. Y'all, I took this down from 50 minutes to like 30, so please, no, that's really hard. I hope that worked for you. If you want the longer version, scroll on down the lecture notes and you'll have more. Ladies and gentlemen, good luck, have fun. Thank you. To all, good luck. Thank you.